Hello and welcome, followers of The Forge. We're nearing the end of 2020, so naturally, we started to put together our favorite bands of the genre. Today, we are listing our favorite death metal records of the year, and we collaborated with our good friend, Flight of Icarus from Metal Trenches to bring you some of the best death metal that 2020 had to offer.
Hey, thank you, Metal Forge Reviews, for having me on your channel, and before I get into my first pick, if you're interested in seeing more reviews of new and underground metal albums, discography tier lists of your favorite metal bands, and interviews with them on the podcast, be sure to subscribe to the Metal Trenches channel and follow me on the social media of your choice.
Go check out this guy's channel. He posts a ton of videos weekly about new and killer metal releases. One of my favorite parts of his channel is this Bandcamp series where he showcases some great bands of the underground. Thanks for being on the show, dude. Let's get to our picks.
My first pick will also be featured on my favorite metal albums over all of 2020, and that is Beneath the Massacre with Fearmonger. This album is just so sick. Like, where do I even begin? It is just fast and intense. The drumming is just utter insanity. It's one of the best drumming performances of metal of the entire year for sure. The guitar work is complete insanity, and the vocals are just so aggressive too. And I wasn't really sure what to think going into this because while a lot of my friends in high school really ate up this band, I was never like a huge fanboy of them. I kind of enjoyed their previous albums. I dabbled with them. I came back to them here and there, but I didn't think that they were like the monuments of perfection that people made them out to be. But this album is their best album, like bar none. I have no problem saying that whatsoever. I think that their songwriting has improved so much. The performances are tighter. Everything about it is just so consistent to the point where I usually kind of pick out like what are my favorite singles on the album and I heart them in my playlist and everything. Almost the entire album ended up in my playlist because it's so hard to pick favorites, and they've walked this amazing line between the intense technicality, but without in the process losing the importance of having really strong hooks to keep the listener engaged, and this album is just jam-packed with those too. So Fearmonger, Beneath the Massacre, obvious choice, amazing album. Go listen to it if you somehow missed it.
My first pick is Cytotoxin, Nuklearth. This was released on August 21st, 2020 on Unique Leader Records. This album surprised the shit out of me. When I saw their nuclear waste gimmick without hearing the band, I sort of went, oh boy, here we go. But holy hell, I was completely blown away by this record. I typically don't gravitate towards technical death metal, but this album is amazing. German-based Cytotoxin created something special here with blistering riffs and technicality, delicately balanced with badass riffs. I'm a sucker for riffs. Tech death in general loses me when the bands reach the look what I can do kind of status and forget about the songwriting. That is not the case here. Cytotoxin are extremely self-aware, and the songwriting is spectacular, and I found myself spinning this record a ton throughout the year. Here's a clip from Lupus Aurora. You can support Cytotoxin on their web store. They have a ton of merch. Seriously, like a ton. Bundles, patches, beanies, shirts. Pick something up because if you love uranium-drenched death metal, this is totally up your alley.
So, much like my doom metal picks with the Metal Meltdown, I don't want to reveal all my year-end picks here prematurely. Today, I'll be talking about some of the best death metal albums of 2020 that caught my attention. Depending on how we do our year-end list, though, I would imagine at least one of these albums I talk about is probably going to be running to be on that list. We'll see how it all plays out. So first up for me is Bear Mace. Chicago's Bear Mace came out with an absolutely fantastic record this summer. I'm kind of stunned that it was released independently because this is a very strong record in terms of production and overall design. Really, it has everything that I love about death metal. Great riffs, a variation of pacing and grooves, songs that don't feel overdone and beaten up, and solos that fit the brutal atmosphere that the band gives off. This is an album that reminds me of everything that I love that is parts bloodbath, parts monstrosity, and bullet thrower just kind of thrown into the blender. At just over 34 minutes, it's a pretty quick listen and just begs to be replayed at least once back to back. Here's a clip from that album. I hope Bear Mace is rolling out the razor wire and setting up a fire base with overlapping machine gun patterns, because if they keep on this trajectory, they're going to be dropping bodies like it's Hue City in 1968. Be sure to support them on Bandcamp. They have some great merchandise available. I bought the long sleeve and CD shirt combo, and I must say, the shirt is super comfortable and soft. Also, the design is pretty radical, but more importantly, it's how my skin feels against the shirt. It's very nice. Support Bear Mace.
Right, moving away from technical death metal to something a little bit more melodic, we've got Morrisprincipiomast with 7. This is the most recent album on this list for sure, but like I said in my full album review and in the tier list I did of their full discography, I have been a long-time Morrisprincipiomast fan and have been waving the flag as hard as I can every time an album comes out, because these guys just don't get the recognition that they deserve. And I gotta tell you, I think 7 may be one of the best albums that they've ever written. It's definitely up there. Like, that was the epitome that came to me when I was in the middle of doing that tier list and recording it, was realizing that not only is this an amazing album, but it's one of their best. I would put it right up there with The Unborn and Liberation Termination. The guitar work is so impressive and the production is just vast. Like, I think this is one of the best sounding records that they've ever done. Everything sounds so crisp and in your face, and it just surrounds you, and it really makes those symphonic elements pop too. And that's the thing, really, between the guitars and those symphonic flourishes, the way that they come together, both of them have so many like earworm moments that just get stuck in your head, and I could not put this album down. This is another one where pretty much every song is amazing, but a few standouts to get you started: Lost in a Starless Aeon, March to War, and Rebirth. Do not sleep on this band anymore.
The next on my list is Lick, Misanthropic Breed. This was released on September 25th on Metal Blade Records. For those of you who think Lick, what a dumb band name, it actually means corpse in Swedish, so no, it's not dumb. Holy crap, this album is a blast to listen to. I have a special place in my heart for that chainsaw sound in Swedish death metal. This album embraces that dismember, bloodbath, entombed sound and adds a fantastic modern production to it that makes the record sound refreshing and a new take on the subgenre. The riffs are killer, the melodies are sick, and I found myself listening to this record dozens of times since it came out. The album is 35 minutes of complete worship of that famous HM2 chainsaw death metal sound. If you love 90s Swedish death metal, you cannot miss this album. It is that good. Here's a clip from Funeral Anthem. You can support Lick on the Metal Blade Records web store, where they have t-shirts, vinyl, CDs available. Embrace that chainsaw guitar tone and kill your speakers.
Next for me is Nyktophobia. Independently released in August, Nyctophobia's What Lasts Forever is an epic melodic death metal masterpiece. This is just the third full-length in as many years, and it is just a superb record. The timing of this album is interesting to me because the songwriting and catchiness of it really takes me back to my teenage years when I couldn't get enough of this variation of straightforward, in-your-face melodic death metal. It's about 15 years late to the party, but I am so glad that they came out with it at this time. I just love the pacing of this record, as it's another half-hour banger with super appealing melodies, infectious riffs, and stunning sonic qualities from one of the masters of the audio board, Jan Spogren. That's right, Fascination Street Studios has been mentioned a lot on this channel this year, and I'm sure he will be mentioned a lot in the future. If you miss Amon Amarth's early style of headbanging, 4/4 to the floor, straight melodic death metal, this album is for you. Check out a clip, and I'm going to prove it. Nyktophobia deserves your support all day, all night, especially. Nyktophobia is German for fear of the dark, so yeah, that's, if you didn't get it, that's why I said that. They have all kinds of cool merchandise available, and I think that they're worth checking out if you're all about melodic death metal that is stunning and harmonious. Check them out.
If you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel if you dig videos like these. We post multiple videos weekly, bringing you top lists of the Metal Underground, interviews, and reactions. Hit that like button and the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Let's get to our last picks.
And then my last pick is from the thrashier side of the death metal camp, and it is Vader with Solitude and Madness. I didn't know what to expect from this album, as I've been a pretty long-time Vader fan, but they've been really hit and miss with me over the years. They'll have one album that comes out that I absolutely love, and then the next year, I'm just not really interested at all. That was exactly my experience with loving Tibi et Igni to death, but then The Empire came out, and I just find that album really kind of dull. Yeah, I went through a tier list with this band, and about half of the albums I really love, and the other half I'm just kind of like, whatever. But as seems to be a trend with the albums that I picked for this particular list, I think, again, they've outdone themselves. This is one of the best albums that they've ever written, and it is way up there in, like, their top 3 at the least. The production, again, is really solid, and the riffs, and the hooks, and the vocals. My god, the sing-alongs on this album, like, that's kind of what I come to Vader for, is just, like, thrashy riffs that are really fun, that give you that doo-doo face, and you just get really gnarly with it, and then you just throw up your horns, and you scream along with some of these vocal lines. And yeah, sometimes they're a little bit corny and on the nose, but they're so infectious, they just get under your skin, and this album is just jam-packed with those. Into Oblivion, Incineration of the Gods, and Satan Wept, Emptiness. Now, it doesn't have, like, these symphonic elements that I loved about Tibi et Igni and made that album feel so huge, but as far as just, like, a straight thrasher of a death metal record that just makes you bang your head and get crazy in the pit, this is the one for you. Does it pack any surprises? Is it doing anything new? Is it one of the best albums of 2020? Not really, but as far as death metal goes, and as far as, like, the albums that I just had to buy and could not put down because I was having such a fun time with it, this was one of them, for sure. At very least, it did make my head explode, like on the album art here.
Last one I have on my list is Ulcerate, Stare Into Death and Be Still. This was released on April 24th on Debemer Morty Productions. Easily one of my favorite death metal bands of the modern era. These guys are so innovative and have released non-stop bangers since their first record. Bands like this are why I still give death metal a chance, and they're so unbelievably innovative and make death metal just plain fun to listen to. I would argue that this is probably their most accessible record in their discography, but it's still very much their DNA form of death metal. The long form compositions are extremely innovative, and their unpredictable nature is welcomed. This record is a fantastic example of their technical prowess as a band, but their ability to push forward into powerful and emotional songwriting lifts this record to another level. Here's a clip from Exhale the Ash. You can support Ulcerate on their Bandcamp where they have shirts, CDs, and vinyl. Definitely check out this album if you're looking for something new with death metal. Absolutely fantastic record.
Last for me, I couldn't not talk about Wolfheart's fifth full-length album, Wolves of Karelia, released in April on Napalm Records. Tuomas Sokkanen is not only a fantastic player of a variety of instruments and a fantastic vocalist as well, he's also a capable leader, as he was able to put together a roster of talented musicians, designers, and engineers to help release this killer record. I wanted to close with this album because I see it as a sort of middle point between the last two albums that I just talked about. There is extreme ferocity on this record, all the while it is tamed by very beautiful clean sections filled with melody. Sokkanen and his crew have managed to create something familiar but fresh, and I said that last time about our review about this. It contains all the signature characteristics of what I expect from the chieftain like Sokkanen, while remaining seminal and authentic. Here's a clip from that album. Wolfheart is sure to remain on our radar until the end of time, simply due to their tremendous songwriting and musicianship. I hope that you'll support Wolfheart by getting Wolves of Karelia wherever Napalm Records are sold. A big thank you to Metal Trenches. Be sure to head over to his channel and check out his content. He has some great ranking videos, reactions, and reviews. If you want to see more from us, we've organized our segments by playlist on our YouTube channel. Very soon we'll be talking about year-end lists, so be on the lookout for that. As I sometimes do, I'd like to leave you with some philosophical words today. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Langston Hughes was a brilliant poet during the time of the Harlem Renaissance, and we hope that you will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, take care.